Comedy Film Nerds Podcast.
I want to see.
Yes,
but
let's talk about Detroit. Mike, would you like to start?
we're going to do a spoiler rep on it.
Yes, we're going to do a
We
spoiler
are?
up on it as well.
Okay.
So,
In the same facility that you're in now, Mike. So
Yeah.
don't be
Hold on.
alarmed when we have to
Do we
ask
have
you
to go to the? Do we have to go to the spoiler room? Is that going to happen?
There's a spoiler
I have no idea. It's hermetically sealed, so no one
padded.
hears it for miles around.
no.
blindfolded.
So I saw Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a task.
It's brutal.
It is grueling, and it again, it's one of those movies where, you throw your arms up and you're uncomfortably shifting in your seat, and you're just going, oh, come on, really,
Right.
again, and I hate to be that person. It's a you have to see it. It's Catherine Bigelow's a genius. It's
a great film.
muscular, fucking hardcore,
It's
real.
shot like a war movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So your arms in the air is not the movie was not executed correctly, but just the subject matter.
No, the
is so
subject matter
intense.
is just
It's brutal and disturbing.
and this will sound
Yeah.
as an umbrella statement. I'll say this: I wish, as a society, we could stop making this movie. Does that make any sense?
Right. Makes plenty of sense.
Because I will tell you this though.
I'll say this: you're a pussy.
Okay, that's fine. I'll accept that if it means we stop making this fucking movie happen.
No, it's you're absolutely. I mean that.
You just wind up frustrated and terrible, and it's that kind of movie where because there was a joke. I went with my brother and I looked at him beforehand because there was a pretty packed house for a late show on a Monday.
Right.
And it's a mixed crowd of us, and then there's white people, African Americans, all sorts of people. And whenever an African American would come in, I'd look at Lenny and I go, "How does this work? Do we have to apologize to them after the movie? Do we just is there like a receiving line at the end where we shake hands and just give them $1 or what?" And that's before I see the movie. Then I see the movie and I'm just like, God, good. Then Then it's not even a joke. I want to. You want to just pass out hugs and you want to go, what the fuck? This is unbelievably
What's wrong
terrible.
with America,
Yeah,
especially in
right.
light of.
But what's wrong with America? But the best again, this is 50 years ago. Literally, almost exactly 50 years
No,
ago.
it's
This took
exactly
place.
to the day.
Yeah.
On
the release date,
on July
certainly.
25th, 2017, Detroit premiered at the Fox Theater in Detroit exactly 50 years after the date.
The day
most
it
of
all,
the movie
that it all
takes
went
place
down.
on. Yeah.
It's a story about
and
an
nothing
incident.
has gotten better. Some things are
And in fact,
mildly.
the
maybe
majority
not.
of the film and the Algiers sequences were shot in chronological order too, and I think that makes a difference.
Right.
Like the way it was shot. Now,
It was shot in Massachusetts too, which I thought was kind of bananas.
yeah, there was some.
Because I waited afterwards to see, because I'll tell you what, they got some really great looking old school 60s neighborhoods, because the
Definitely.
movie starts out where
It's a period piece, so
absolutely.
it's not a cheap movie to make.
It's 1967, and they preface it all in the beginning with by showing you the riots in Watts, the riots in Newark,
Right.
and all sorts of stuff like that.
Here's something that it did. Now, if you take subject matter aside and you just look at it in filmmaking and narrative terms, here's something that it did correctly that The Dark Tower did not do. It set up the world. Like, it didn't just throw you into the Algiers
it let you know what was happening.
motel. It didn't throw you into that incident right away. It said, look, here's the world. Here's the culture. Here's what was happening at the time. So it brings you in, whether you're talking about a fantasy world or a period in history. You do it correctly the way Catherine Bigelow did. It sets the mood and tone for the viewer.
She lit a fuse.
Exactly.
Literally, the
Exactly.
credits start and the fuse gets lit with
Right.
actual news footage and then chyrons, and
Yep.
then we're brought into the movie world. But the
Which I
fuse
love
is
when
lit.
I love when that's used correctly. The actual news footage makes you go, damn.
Oh, she crushed it. And then the fuse. Dude, we're getting Mitt Romney's dad, real Mitt Romney's dad. And you see him, and you're like, holy, because he looks just like him, and he's the governor of Michigan at the time. So
Right.
we're getting actual clips of him talking about the riots and hoodlumism, and then showing, because the riots last 3 days in Detroit, and it takes a larger subject matter and then makes it small.
Right.
We start following this person's story and this person's story and this person's story, and then they all
it also
converge.
doesn't omit anything. It doesn't try to point in any one direction. It just shows how awful everything was. Like everything from the police brutality and basically the murdering, but also it shows the way riots, they happen in their own neighborhood. They're literally destroying their own neighborhood with
Yeah,
the
well, the guy
riots.
playing John Conyers says, please
So-
don't burn down your whole neighborhood. And then
Right.
an entire mob just starts chanting, burn it all, burn it
Yeah,
all,
yeah,
burn it down.
exactly.
Because they're so tired of it. They're like, it's the only way we're going to get noticed is by making a flashpoint.
Right. And this is their senator or congressman who
Yeah, he's
came
their
down to
local
speak.
district guy. Yeah, now
Yeah.
because he certainly went on to much larger things,
Yeah.
but at the time he's a local representative.
And he was trying to speak to basically to try to talk everyone down,
And they
and it had the opposite effect.
Yeah, he inflames the whole thing.
Yeah.
And they're all because everybody's fed up and furious and angry anyway.
Right.
Again, the whole movie starts with a bar getting rousted. And then some people outside are like, why are you rousting us, man? Why are you giving us a hard time? And then that triggers off riots that happen for 3 days.
Right.
And then the National Guard comes in. And then you add in the Detroit Police Department, which was very,
And you
very
can see
angry.
the fear in the cops, too, especially just at that raid at the beginning. We're like, well, we got to hurry up and get done and get out of here.
Oh, sure.
Like, so you see, what I loved about this film is you saw every perspective and every angle. Like, there wasn't anything like, oh, well, come on, that didn't really happen, or that couldn't have really happened, or that wasn't a believable motivation. Like, it really showed you an entire picture of a horrific incident at a specific time and point in our history.
And it's written by Mark Bowl, who him and Catherine Bigelow have worked together numerous times. Zero Dark 30 and The Hurt Locker, which is.
Well, it's a 1-2 punch.
I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And
it was shot like those movies.
right,
sure,
and also too. So now this is her. If I'm not mistaken, maybe she's done more, but this is her second film that's based on an actual thing, Zero Dark 30, which I thought was a very compelling film. Whether you agree with the politics of finding Osama bin Laden, whatever, it's a very compelling movie. And The Hurt Locker, as we talked about, we really liked. So this is I guess my question is obvious. Well, maybe you've already answered it, but like front to back, it's that like great artistic vision of a director who implements all the best people in all of the key positions, like writer and cinematographer and all that other stuff.
And actors.
I got a beef with something. Is it for the spoiler episode, or can I say it now?
Well, if it has to do with the plot, we can save it for the spoiler.
Well, the story is structured in there's almost three real segments. There's all the prelude, and then there's this incident in the middle, and then there's the prologue of everything that happens because of the incident in the middle.
Right.
And the third part of this movie, because there's 45 minutes after
epilogue, really.
Epilogue, certainly.
Yeah.
It can't follow what happens in the middle.
Right.
And
if I did have one criticism of the film, it would probably be that the middle part just went on for a little bit too long.
But boy, I thought you needed to really bring you into the horror of it.
Right.
But what my problem then is the rushed. You can't follow that. It
like
is
it's tough to do an act 3 after that act.
Absolutely,
2.
and that act 3 is boilerplate. Courtroom objection overruled. I mean, almost like she was so tired after filming the grueling center of the film.
Well, it was so visceral and
it's a horror movie. It's like, but Jason and Freddy are cops.
The trailer is shot like a horror movie. If you watch the trailer too, we're like, well, we're just we need to get out of this night alive, like literally. And
well, there's the horror movie shot where. When people are called outside and people are called into another room, and two of the protagonists, they look at each other. We got to get out of here. So they start running into the basement and running into other rooms, and there's windows opening and lights flashing and faces appearing, just like a horror movie. And then they have to run. They have to retreat because there's nothing. There's no escape. It's so claustrophobic and it's so brutal.
It is, and
it's so hard to follow in that third act.
And that's that makes a good point too. Maybe the point is that the middle part did go on longer, just to like make you more. And more
you're in the horror. You could have made. You know what? You could have made a 90-minute movie about the middle of the second act and been done and left everybody winded.
Yeah. So I really felt like this was a really nice. Just from a piece of filmmaking, it was it was put together so competently and so well, just from start to finish. I thought it was a really. You're gonna hear about this during Oscar time for sure.
I hope
this
so.
Movie. Yeah, and you've got really great performances too.
Anthony Mackie, who she worked with in The Hurt Locker.
He's the
Falcon.
The Falcon.
Yes, exactly.
He's becoming a real solid actor.
Yes.
Is it A.G. Smith or A.G. the kid who plays Larry?
Let me check.
I can't remember. But
he's the main. In my opinion, he's essentially
the main antagonist.
Algie Smith.
Algie Smith. That dude. I don't know anything about him, but he's a singer in the film, and
he's not the main antagonist. I'm talking about the white cop.
Oh, he's unbelievably.
He's done a lot of TV.
He looks like a Wahlberg with Down syndrome. I mean, he's just like mean and like brutal.
Well, he's. I want to get into the actual cop. We'll do it for the spoiler ep because they did a whole in the L.A. Times. They did a whole profile on Catherine Bigelow in this movie, but also this actual cop and where he's at today and all this other stuff.
It's unbelievable to see him like even as like he's kind of like a rookie cop.
Yeah.
And to see just his attitude and what he does and how the other cops follow him, it's terrifying.
I was just about to say the thing in this movie, the things that are very striking are, as with a lot of these true life films, films of true incidents, the series of people not doing the right thing leading to so many wrong things.
Right.
If they would have just done this, if they would have just done that, if this guy would have done this, everything changes and none of this happens.
And we'll talk about more in the spoiler
Exactly.
because they showed those were those moments in the movie where here's a missed moral opportunity to stop this.
And in my theater seat, you're just like, come on,
Right.
you know, you're just,
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
I remember watching Zodiac, and which is based on real events. And I remember having obviously it's not like people doing, well, there's one guy doing awful things, but like I remember watching that going, if this was a fictional tale, I'd be like, this is bullshit. There's no way the cops wouldn't catch him by now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you watch Zodiac and you're like, how the oh God, and they just barely miss, and how do you not? And part of it was the technology of the time. They didn't have computers and forensics and all this other shit.
And then they've got him, but they can't prove that
They
it's
can't
him.
prove-
And he cat and mouses him, and it's just, genius.
It's like an X-Files episode.
Yeah, you're just like, and you're doing the same thing. Like, God, how did they fucking?
Yeah.
The thing I also want to talk about, and then I guess we can move on because again we'll cover this a lot in the spoiler. Is the thing I'm also really happy about is it's a $34 million budget. And it's one of those things we've talked about a lot. Mike, you're bringing up Cape, Cape fatigue, and we talk about this.
All the money's on the screen too.
We say this so often, Hollywood just keeps making these 100, 150, $200 million movies, and then they're not making anything in the like $30 to $60 million range. And they're starting to see more of that. Like what Deadpool did was great, but this is $34 million. This is an Oscar movie in the summer. It's really, I'm happy to see this, and I'm glad they're making, obviously a movie like this is so relevant to what's going on in America, and America doesn't seem to want to learn from its mistakes at all. So I'm happy on the social commentary level, and I'm also happy on the just the finances of Hollywood to see like, because she's Catherine Bigelow. If she wanted to say we're doing an $100 million movie, probably would get it without much of a problem. But
the film didn't have a huge opening weekend. I think it's going to take a little while to find its audience. And one of the interesting things too is that this is the first film to be distributed by Annapurna Pictures, which is normally just a production company. So you wonder, is this their first time marketing a film?
Yeah.
Is that a factor to how many screens or what the campaigns were and all that stuff to actually get people out to see the film?
Well, I can speak to that as a guy who's been seeing billboards for it. I had no idea what it was. I mean, you gotta tell me what we're looking at here, because I thought, because I know the Move stuff happened in Philadelphia. So in my head, I'm like, is this about like a Move type of thing that happened in Detroit possibly? And then I went, well, wait a minute, is it like a dystopian future where Detroit is a bombed out city and the army runs it? Like the billboards tell me nothing.
Was this Maze Runner?
Yeah, you know what I mean? You just see a tank and you see Detroit.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, is that? And also the look of the one sheet and the billboards is very Netflix documentary.
Right.
So I'm going, all right, is this something else? So I'm in my head, I had no idea what it was.
Right.
Until then, and then I see the kid from Star Wars is in it, and I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell is this? And then you wind up seeing it, and then I see Catherine Bigelow's name attached, and I go, oh, okay.
Right.
You could do more putting that above the title,
Right.
maybe,
Yeah.
in my opinion, because that's your star you're selling.
Yep.
In my opinion, if you're familiar with her work, you want to see more of it. So she should be, from the and also, but another thing, give me the name Catherine Bigelow, because I did start to see from the director of The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. Well, that doesn't. I mean, now you're just
Catherine
selling
Bigelow, man.
Yeah, she's great. We know who she is. Give me her name.
well, the thing that's interesting too that's starting to happen, and
If you're going to say from the director of Transformers, say from the director of The Hurt Locker. It's okay.
well, like, so what's getting interesting too is how much social media is playing out in terms of movies either getting steam, like The Big Sick got big steam because it didn't have a wide release, and it got a lot of
Good critical acclaim and word of mouth.
And I think this is doing it. I
Not
think
just from us.
right, but also, but to show you, I think what happened to The Dark Tower tanking at the box office, I think it was the reverse.
Right.
All the fans of the books went nope, and got on social media and said,
Yeah.
And I think
even before
Detroit-
it came out, though, nobody even got tricked into opening weekend.
Right.
That was really a big
Just
deal
me.
with Dark Tower. Well, you got to. It's your job. But I mean, other people. I mean, I saw you could see the torches and axes and stuff already, but people are just like, no, you've ruined it. We know you've ruined it. And they weren't even going to give it a chance out of the gate because of once they started doing all those weird trailer tricks, you're like, oh man, this is terrible.
Good gun reloading. That's all I can say.
Good gun reloading.
I saw it in the trailer.
Yeah.
Well,
that was
Detroit,
pretty
man,
great.
I'm
Well, I want to mention that Algie Smith guy really quick because I don't know him at all. And in this movie, there are a lot of people you don't know, and then you see them, they're all amazing. But he sings in the movie. He plays a singer,
Yes.
and then you're watching it. I'm like, he's actually singing. You can tell because
Right.
when he does it in several different scenes. And in my head, I went, that dude sounds like Ralph from New Edition. I was like, he really sounds like Ralph Tresvant. And so after the movie, I go to IMDb. He was Ralph Tresvant in the New Edition movie on TV. And I was like, holy God, how...
You're the only one who made that connection.
I'm not. No, I'm telling you, dude. Because I go, dude. He sounds just like Ralph from New Edition. That's crazy because he's playing a guy from the Dramatics,
Right.
and his voice is perfect. I mean, it's just, it's just poured out of a golden chalice. It's so beautiful. And then I looked him up, and I went, holy fuck, because he looked like him too. The little mustache, the whole deal.
Right.
And I went, Jesus Christ. I was proud of myself. I'm like, holy, to go, man, that guy reminds me of Ralph from New Edition. He played Ralph from New Edition. Fucking crushed that one.
Well, guys, tune in for the spoiler up. We'll go into
Yep,
more.
we'll go
way
into more detail, including the
More
part,
New
although-
Edition talk, certainly.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, though, civil rights still an issue.
Yeah, spoiler alert.